Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching the season finale of Miss Marvel. I have no idea if this is going to get any more seasons, but it certainly does happen to set up Kamala Khan for what she's going to do in The Marvels when that comes out in 2023. So basically it happens to turn the final battle against the damage control agents into the Marvel equivalent of Home Alone, as Kamala and her friends all happen to go to the high school and they happen to set it up with a ton of booby traps to make sure that the damage control agents can't get to Kamala, whose powers are going out of control as we speak. But Miss Marvel also manages to get her iconic costume from the comics, so that's pretty fun. And she happens to be able to use her embiggening powers as well. So it certainly gives the fans what they'd want for the character. Well, it also happens to end Kamran's story in a way that isn't perfect, but it's better than I thought it would end. And honestly, considering how the clandestines were pretty mediocre villains, I'm kind of surprised they actually tried to go for an emotional moment with Kamran and his mother, considering they didn't have that much chemistry and they weren't developed that thoroughly. They had tons of time to do so, but they didn't find any time to fit that in, unfortunately. But I do admit that Cameron's story is kind of sad, and I do like how Kamala handled it. And I do also appreciate that Kamala's friends are generally far more likable in this series than they were in the original comics. I think they were just written far better here. Even if the damage control agents do look like a bunch of morons when they happen to fall for almost every single one of the booby traps like they're the incompetent wet bandits, and on top of Deaver just being an idiot in general, with her never following any orders and just doing whatever she feels, which is probably going to get her fired by the end of this series if she's lucky. I mean, if she's lucky if that's all they do. But I do appreciate that Kamala's family is also more likable here, and just like Kamala's friends are in the comics. And to the point where that final conversation with Kamala and her father really does add a lot to the series and its emotional value, and I think it ultimately makes sense why Kamala takes the name of Miss Marvel. You see, in the comics, Miss Marvel was just an offshoot of Captain Marvel when Carol Danvers got Captain Marvel's Kree powers after he saved her life from a Kree machine. And ultimately, Miss Marvel was just an offshoot of a male hero, similar to a lot of other comic heroes. But not only is the Captain Marvel story different in the films than it was in the comics, but the Miss Marvel story happens to take the elements that worked in the comics and it happens to write other things around it to make it so that it isn't just the female counterpart of another hero, or just another offshoot of a hero who's more pre-established. And I really like that fact that they wrote around that. On top of that, there's a post-credits scene where Miss Marvel happens to transform into Brie Larson. So yeah, I didn't expect her to show up in the series at all, but if she's only going to show up at the very end, I guess they're just doing that to set up what's going to happen in the Marvels. And considering what a charisma vacuum Brie Larson was in the original Captain Marvel film, I hope that Iman Vellani can add some spice, add some fun to the production, which it desperately needs. So yeah, Miss Marvel isn't a perfect series. The clandestines are pretty boring villains, and ultimately there are some emotional moments that the series handles better than others, but I really liked its sense of style, its fun animation, and how Kamala is just a likable character with a fun actress portraying her. And having a likable lead adds a lot to a series, even if it happens to have several other flaws. I wasn't a fan of the special effects throughout, but I like the girl at the center of those effects. So, while this isn't my favorite Disney Plus series, I do think it doesn't deserve the amount of hate that it got online. And I do think that people should at least give it a chance before they give it immediate 1-star reviews. That's why I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Clearly flawed, but it has a lot to like about it too. I hope to see her next year. See you next time.